Hey, hello, Michael. I'm really happy to have you today
Hey,
and to have this
Julien.
time to discuss together about trauma therapy. I realize it's been 3 years already since we've been training together, since I started learning with you in Lisbon, and we did around 10 workshops in France. I
It's
know you're
incredible.
going to come back to Europe for another tour teaching trauma therapy. Where are you going again?
I'm going to Switzerland in Lucerne and then Amsterdam, Netherlands, and then we come into Paris,
Yeah,
France.
yeah,
It's
yeah. We're
becoming
coming to
like
Paris.
it's becoming like a second home. My God.
And so now we have a lot of waves of new students and all students. And it's really interesting for me to see, especially in my clinic or with students, how everyone is getting the tools, processing it, dealing with clients, lots of different kinds of clients. So I think it would be a good opportunity to discuss all of that here.
Perfect. That's what it's
Um,
about. Yeah.
yeah. So what I enjoy the most and what brought me the most fun, let's say, or experience in my clinic was the relationship between the boundary issues, the boundary, how to evaluate them in the clients. Then, so we have three things: the boundaries, the values, and the needs. And well, simple is powerful. That's the main thing. It's so simple, it's so direct, but somehow it's not really discussed, even in psychotherapy. Of course, a lot of psychotherapy is built around that. But what I appreciate in your tools is that they're pointing towards it in a direct way, and we have so many ways of assessing them and giving tools to clients and practicing them in the clinical setting. So, and I think, I mean, those three things are kind of basic, but I think it's really, I mean, we can have a lot of experience and expertise in that. And I think that's already a good place to start for therapists and for clients. So why don't we start talking about this? What do you reckon is important in doing that?
Well,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. And I think there's two ways of dealing with that. First, there's evaluating process, assessing them, assessing all the things. So assessing the boundaries, assessing the values, if they have values, if it's clear or not, assessing the needs. And then there's the therapeutic side. So giving tools to them so they can build autonomy, in their home setting when they're getting back to the environment. And then there's what we're doing in the clinical aspect, one-on-one with the client. So that's the three things: boundaries, values, and needs. And then, of course, there's the compromises side. There's the self-sabotaging side. So that's also another aspect of it, which is a whole different level. Sometimes it's difficult to get to that part of the client, but it's so necessary. We can't deal with those three things without dealing with compromises. So yeah, I realized talking with fellow therapists, friends, and colleagues, then everyone has their own ways of dealing with that and bringing tools with clients. Um, yeah, I mean, in your experience and in teaching experience, what would be the most important things to take care of, to consider in that setting? There's multiple aspects to that, so pick wherever you want to start.
Yes. Well, first of all, boundaries, believe it or not, and you're starting to believe it because you're seeing it clinically now because we put an emphasis on boundaries in the work with our clients and particularly with trauma clients. Boundaries, I haven't found anybody that knows what they are.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's including, psychotherapists and psychiatrists and psychologists and counselors. I really was astonished when I came to realize that not really one person knew exactly what it was. Now, with that being said, we have a concept of what it is. We are told that we should have boundaries. And because we are told we should have boundaries, we develop this concept of what it should look like.
Mhm.
Now, also on top of it, many of our boundaries have been overridden or, betrayed or crossed over or pushed over since we were kids.
Yeah.
And in particular, by the people that love us, which is our family, friends, you know, and not to mention institutions, societies, even medical people. We can go on and on.
Yeah.
Boundaries is such a fundamental issue, and neurologically too, we're hardwired to protect ourselves.
Mhm.
The mind, when we came to this equation, which is life, has been hardwired with uh, one aspect that wants to experience unlimited potential, and another aspects of us that offers tremendous resistance due to fear.
Yeah. Yeah. Fear is a big part of all that, huh?
Yeah, we are not neurologically hardwired. So if we were, a machine, somebody installed in us unlimited, in a way, access to potential, but
Mhm.
also installed in us a tremendous amount of fear and resistance.
Yeah.
So we come that way. And then we are told, in a way, in our cultures and our societies and our families, to be afraid of what might happen,
Yeah.
to be careful of this, to be afraid of that. And then we go out to the world and we experience again, our boundaries are constantly being pushed, consciously or unconsciously. And that starts to affect us on all levels, the physical, the
Yeah.
mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the energetics, the psyche, you name it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of us are struggling with boundaries, all of us. And none of us, oh, sorry, I wouldn't say none of us, not many of us take the time to really understand what it is on all those levels,
Yeah.
right? Because a psychologist might go to his factory, which I call the school. I mean, we all go to a factory as therapists. We went to the shiatsu factory and we got the template. And a psychologist goes to his factory and he's told that, you should work on boundaries. And as in a therapeutic relationship, you should have those boundaries with your client. But they're told from the psychological level.
Yeah, yeah. The theoretical or the mental aspect part of it. What I
The,
think is really powerful in this approach is also, and that's, I mean, including in shiatsu, is making them feel, and that takes a really concrete reality, what it
that,
feels like when
that
I'm getting triggered or when my boundaries are passed, or what it feels like when I'm feeling safe, and that's the, making them feel.
it's one of the most
That's
powerful tools that I came up with. And I'm so fortunate that I put it together because not only it helped me first, because again, I had my own boundary issues and my own boundaries being tested. And when I was younger, they were crossed and betrayed, and I experienced all those things. And I consciously thought for a long time that spiritually, if I make myself strong and I'll be the spiritual master, then this won't be an issue. But really, I
yeah,
discovered that was just another protective mechanism. And so my own work on boundaries and seeing my clients constantly in their stories telling me over and over, it didn't matter which nationality they came from, how they were brought up, there was always issues with boundaries. And coming to develop that tool to give an instant assessment. It's an instant assessment for you and your client. of how you're doing in life, how you're really doing, not how you perceive that you're doing. It's a
Yeah.
big difference because our perception is not often very clear because many of us don't, in a way, connect to the body's intelligence. And this is where shiatsu comes in so well. A lot of people, their perception is maybe they have emotional perception, maybe they have mental perception, but they don't connect the body to it also. And the body, I will say, is your bullshit detector, you know,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
always tells the truth. And once you connect the person from the physical through the mental, emotional, and the spiritual, then you have a complete picture.
Yeah.
Now, nobody is really comfortable seeing what their boundaries are like. And you now have seen it clinically, when you offer to do the exercise or the assessment, there's not one person that is really comfortable doing it. Correct?
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Of course, it's
I
really
haven't
uncomfortable. And I think
I
that's also important to mention that to patients when you're
yeah.
doing that. I mean, of course you mention it, but that's not empowering, but that's reassuring to them, you know. It's like, wow, you did great, you know, it's uncomfortable for you, you know, that's okay. It's meant to be that way in a way. So
And
that's also part
that's
of that
that's the
thing.
beauty of doing that exercise because you're right. Uh and I do mention it, and because often the response that I get, and I don't know if you've been getting this response or others, is wow, I didn't realize what my boundaries were like. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right?
Of course, I'm not going to do that, but when I'm doing the exercise, I often feel like I should put a camera on the side because they have such a different perception of what it was for you. You know, oh, really, my hands were there this way, or my hands were over there. You know, it's like they really can't see it, so they have a hard time believing you when you're, giving feedback on that. So that's always so amazing. That's always so interesting in a way, you know?
Yeah, the perception is, like I said, the perception is not often accurate for a lot of people, but also a lot of clients, when they go through the boundary exercise with me, realize their boundaries for the first time.
Mm,
And this is the aha moment. It's like, oh my God, I didn't realize that it was so involved.
mhm.
And sometimes some clients would say, everybody needs to do this.
Yeah,
My family needs to do this. My husband, everybody needs to do this. And this is the first time when somebody really gets to know their boundaries, to have that experience. Now, what's also good with this tool, like, how do I know if my boundaries are improving? You can do the exercise in your journey with a client. You can do the exercise again. You actually say it. I say, this assessment that we just did, we will come back to it in the future. And because this is how you would know that your boundaries are also getting stronger and changing. This is how one of the tools that we use to identify that you are changing. Okay.
yeah, yeah. The metaphor I'm using was the time it's like an update of a software, you know? It's not like a
Yes.
one-time thing. You have to, it's goes with time. You have to update yourself with yourself and the environment, checking in.
Bingo. Bingo.
That's
Because you're gonna have different, you're absolutely right. You're gonna have different elements that life will offer you to, again, touch on your boundaries and put pressure on your
yeah,
boundaries.
yeah, yeah,
Here I had the story that I told you with the squirrels.
yeah,
I was telling Julien the story. We had a family of squirrels that just sitting on top of our attic over our heads and for a few weeks and pushing our boundaries literally. This is a new element. It's interesting the responses that we have, right? And how we want to establish our boundaries with different elements that can start to to
yeah,
touch your
yeah.
boundaries, right?
Yeah, yeah. Also, something I think that I mentioned, I think it's important to mention to them It's that, and that's also what's literally happening in the exercise is that boundaries are the point of connection with the of contact with the outside world. So it's not about, getting yourself closed within yourself or, to be self-centered. It's it's the point of contact. So we're always everywhere, all the time in contact with the outside world. So
Bingo, bingo.
it's
And
about that also.
you feel it as you go out. And I mean, we all feel it as we go out. And now we
Yeah.
feel it even in the house because, we're looking at elements like this, the computer and the phone, and you could feel your nervous system and your body, in a way, your boundaries. A long time ago, somebody said to me, actually, recently, a fella in the pool that I go to and said to me, that advice that you gave me a few weeks ago, wow, it changed my life. And I said, which was it? It goes the part about watching the news. And I said, yes. And what happened since you stopped watching the news? Oh, I'm starting to paint. I'm playing more music now. You know, we are the gatekeepers to what happen what happens to our mind and what happens to our bodies. And I mean, you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
isolate
Yeah.
yourself from
Yeah.
the world, but these days you can't isolate yourself from external influences, and you really have to watch your boundaries, right?
Yeah.
What you consume, right? What your mind and your
Yeah.
body consumes.
Yeah.
Now, how does that tie to values? And again, values, and a lot of people don't understand again, and as shiatsu therapists, we understand the five elements. And we've come to understand that template, the five elements and the meridians that they influence, and the organs that, because of that, they influence, and the emotions that come with it, and all of that we know, and that is such a beautiful system. So to me, the values are the same as those elements.
Okay. Interesting. What
Yeah.
do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Uh, they are energies, they are
Okay.
codes, energetic codes, right? Uh, They can influence your tissues, they can influence your organs, they can influence your immune system, they can influence your nervous system, they can influence the health of your heart. They can influence all of that, just like the five elements,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's true. True.
But we don't associate value as part of our health, which is,
Yeah.
to me, I was fortunate to come across the importance of values at the age of 25, and it blew up my mind because when I came to understand how important they were, and in a way, how they helped me not only align to a certain posture, and I could feel that when I discovered my first value, it's still my number one, purpose, how it changed my whole posture was incredible, and how
Yeah.
it channeled my energy towards a direction.
Mm.
And I never forgot that visceral, powerful moment of experiencing my number one value. And then over the last 25 years, 25 plus years, I've come to intricately and intimately understand the power that they hold. And I practice my values on a monthly basis. Values are living elements, and most of us don't even know what our values are. So it's like not having access to your legs and your arms properly, you know. And as you experience in one of the workshops that we did, once you start to delve into values, you start to see yourself very clearly. It brings a lot of clarity. It brings a lot of energy into the body when you implement those values to your viscera, to your nervous system, to your energetic system, to your body parts.
Yeah.
You are living your values, and you can use them energetically, just like we use the five elements.
Yeah, it's a great way of. I love the phrase "values are living elements." That's a good one. I'll keep that for myself also. For me, what's really, I mean, the connection with values in Chinese medicine is the, connection to the spirit or Shen, or, what we say, Shen Ming, illuminating the spirit in Chinese medicine. It's, and, Ming is clarity, brightness. So it's what I called earlier like vision, developing the vision for the clients. And I also loved, when you said gate, I mean gatekeepers to choose better in a way, because that's also a way. I mean, that's a way I see that this whole work is bringing more freedom to our clients, and that's part of choosing, making them do real choices in their lives and
Well, we don't
create.
make them, we just offer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
choice is always theirs. We don't make them. I always say, I'm not going to heal you. And some of
yeah,
them
yeah,
were disappointed when I said that to them because they expect healing to happen. The whole concept of the work is you are the healer, right? The
yeah,
person is the healer. And we just offer the tools, the processes to give them the freedom to choose
yeah,
or the ability to choose, right?
yes,
Because
yes,
they have to. Now, some people want, but they're not able to. And that's where, as a therapist,
yeah,
and we're gonna go through this workshop, you have to therapeutically understand who is the person in front of you and what they are able to do, right?
yeah,
It's not that they don't want, sometimes they're not able
yeah,
to, right?
yeah,
Uh, so discernment as the therapist and assessing who's coming to you and what state they're in and what stage they're in is the intricacies that come with experiencing more and more different types of clients, in particular that consciously want to work with the roots to their chronic conditions, and the roots, many of them are trauma, right?
yeah.
Trauma patterns, right?
So that's the vision on the therapist side, right?
Yeah,
To have discernment and
yeah.
to be able to see that clearly. Do what I mean, of course, experience is the main data here, the main material here, but would you have an advice for therapists to better develop this discernment or this vision to give, to see where the client is and what
Well,
is he able to do?
that's why I've designed the modules in the way that I did, because in the first two modules in particular, you're creating uh, again an architecture around identifying the protective patterns, not just for you as the therapist, but having those lenses initially, because you're having those lenses. Okay, these are the protective patterns of this person. This is the story. How does the story fit with the protective patterns? How does it affect them on all levels? Yeah, and how to enable them to start safely to let that go, right? Those That's the first part of the journey, is that there's a lot of assessment, there's a lot of reassessing, and even in the treatment, reassessing and assessing and having them again engaged. This is where some of this discomfort rises up for many therapists because, and particularly as shiatsu therapists, we are trained to just do. Of course, we are trained to assess, but here's the client, the line down, and you just do shiatsu on them. And again,
Yep.
that's really amazing because again, shiatsu I love and it's extremely powerful and it's so suited to work with today's complexity. But the biggest downfall is you're not consciously engaging the client in the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're consciously engaging the client in the process, you are turning them into their own healers, because then you would know what they are capable of, where they are in their level of awareness, where they are in their level of sensitivity, what's their capacity, what kind of capacity they have to create the change, or maybe they're just burnt out, maybe they're not able to. But you
Yeah.
wouldn't know that without engaging them.
Yeah. So you have direct feedback with those
Yeah.
tools, right? From
Yes.
them and the level of, again, what you said earlier, fear and resistance and where their compromises are
Yeah.
situated, I guess, if we can put that word in.
Well, I'll give you a quick example. Like, there's a couple that I started to work with, a beautiful couple that actually they met me also at the pool that I go to, and they wanted me to work on, her brother. She wanted me to work with him, and he was he had a terrible life of addiction,
Okay.
25 years of addiction. And in our city, we have a lot of addiction issues. There's an area in the city that is, 20 blocks, maybe more, 30 blocks, and it's all like zombie land. It's so much addiction that goes on in our city. And I've seen many, many of them over the years, but this one came in. To make a long story short, he's changed completely in a matter of a year, just over a year. The woman, the sister that sent him to me, started to send other clients to me, but never herself came. So finally, she wrote me an email. Oh, she sent the husband first, and the husband had this neck and shoulder pain, and he's tried many different therapies, and it always come back, always come back, always come back, the neck, the shoulders. So we started to work with him, and a couple of weeks ago, he had a major realization, and the realization occurred from us together working on being more engaged in this process. And the realization was that he one day after a session walked with his friend, and he was talking to his friend, this particular friend, and the friend really cared about what happened in the session and really cared about listening and ask supportive questions. And what this client of mine realized, that his neck pain and shoulder pain completely disappeared when that happened.
Okay.
So when he came back to me subsequently, he told me about that experience. And I said to him, well, what did you learn from that? And he said, oh, when somebody really cares and listens to me and is quite supportive, somehow it makes this pain go away. I said, no, not quite. I said, when you really care for yourself and investigate what's underneath this pain, just
Mm,
like you're doing with me, and becoming really conscious and making those connections, this pain will go away.
mm,
And he had a big light bulb moment,
mm.
and his wife started to come in because he came after that session. He goes to his wife, you have to go now. And when she came in, I said to her, what took you so long? First you send your brother, and here's a client comes in, and we get those clients, they're very vivacious. I don't know if you know that word.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
light up the room. It's like in shiatsu, we call it the fire element is just
Yeah.
shining, right? And she's charming and she's smiling and everything is great, and she's so grateful to be there and finally meet me and da 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 da. And then I said, when are you gonna stop being a trickster?
Okay.
She goes, what do you mean? I said, you're just doing a performance. You're just performing. You're forgetting yourself. How does
Mhm.
it feel to perform? And and this is why I give it the metaphor of the circus and the performance, right? Many of us
Yeah.
perform in front of a crowd to please
Yeah.
them or to appease them.
Yeah.
Appeasing meaning for the sake of harmony, for the sake of safety, for the sake of being accepted,
Yeah.
I will appease you. And to please you, I'll get out of myself. I'll do everything for you.
Yeah.
So you love me, right? And she just started to cry. And anyways, this past Friday she came in and she's saying, I'm stopping myself from being the trickster for the first time in my life. And she had again, her boundaries were quite severely crossed when she was a young girl by the church, a safe establishment, by religion, and so you can understand when clients like that come to you, they build a persona, and sometimes it looks like sunshine and candy,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
as sweet as they come, but underneath there's a tear and a loss of identity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. A lot of resistance, a lot of denial and black spots and this kind of thing.
Well, it becomes life becomes a performance.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people what they search, there's two inherent needs that we all share. It's to be seen and to be understood. But if we don't understand ourselves, we can't see ourselves in an honest and accountable way. We lose that authenticity. We lose our authenticity. So then we are easily manipulated. We are easily subjected to uh, unwanted responsibilities, unwanted pain, unwanted suffering, and it has a cost. It has a cost on the physical, on the mental, on the emotional, on our
Yeah.
spirit, on our relationships. It spills over.
Yeah. That's a big burden. That's where the what I call the heart mantra, for the boundary comes in, for guilt
Exactly.
and the burden and self forgiveness and this
Exactly.
kind of thing
Powerful.
and
Powerful.
protection,
And
self protection.
this couple now, they're both lovely people, but they came just in time because a few more years they might have separated. And they've both lost their identity, and because of it, resentment started to be the foundation of this relationship. On the outside, perfection, because they're both the same. They come in and they just light up a room. And how you do? I'm so great to be here, Mikhail. You know, uh, but underneath,
Mm,
there's resentment, there's
mm,
anger, there's a lot that hasn't been addressed for so long.
mm.
And they're just performing in the relationship but not getting their needs met. And 16, 17 years later, it's on the brink.
Yeah.
This is where, even for good people in a good relationship, good families, they can crumble. Because
Yeah.
the resentment is actually towards the self, but we start to project it onto the others.
And that's what makes me think that's what the value afterward, after the boundary thing, or after some time, that's where the value work is so important. I mean, I guess for this
Yeah,
couple,
yeah,
for
and
other
they're both.
people.
That's their homework. I'm flying to this tour now, and their work is to do their values, to identify their values, and to understand why, and then on top of it, to vocalize it to each other.
Yeah. That's today. I don't know how I didn't know this quote before, but that's a beautiful quote. I give it to you, from the writer of Le Petit Prince, The Small Prince.
Small print, okay.
Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. He was a airplane pilot during World War II, and he said, love is not about looking at each other. not about two people looking at each other. It's about looking in the same direction.
Beautifully said. Yeah.
So, it makes me think about values because, and as I practice more drawing for myself, when you look at the horizon, perspective lines, it's a point where lines they meet, So looking in the same direction doesn't mean it's parallel, you never meet. Actually, it's meeting somewhere at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes me think about the situation you explained for the couple. If you have same values, even in friendship or relationship, then you're gonna meet no matter what's happening.
Exactly. And they are the foundation of who we are and the foundation of our relationship and how we relate to the world. And yeah, yeah, values, I can talk so much about it, and we can do a
Yeah.
workshop just around values and even how they can change the physiology in the body because
Yeah.
people, again, don't understand the values are elemental. They're not just concept or theories, they're elemental and they can be embodied. And that starts to change our nervous system, starts to change our
Yeah.
physiology. Now, boundaries, values, and intuition, boy, when you put that together, you have
Yeah,
your
it's a big thing.
compass, you have your navigation system, and you have your detection system.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the
Yeah.
whole ship, the whole spaceship there for going
Yeah.
wherever star you want to go.
It's a powerful, yeah, it's a powerful process when people go through it and crystallize it. And it's a work in progress because like I said, 25 years I'm practicing it. And
Yeah.
every month I'm accountable to it also. And it's not about perfection. It's never about perfection. It's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
It's not even
Yeah.
about being rigid about it. It's
Yeah.
just a great opportunity to practice life through your values. Yeah, yeah,
And something also that you mentioned in your past client about the neck, it reminded me another what to me and to of course a lot of people was important. I mean, a phrase that you said that stuck with me is the most healing thing is to be voluntarily vulnerable,
yes,
to be openly vulnerable about yourself with others. And I
yes,
guess that's what happened with your client. It's not just about the nervous system co-regulation he had with his friend and trust and this space and this presence. It also, about him uh, making this breakthrough and feeling safe about sharing things. And that's something I often share with clients. I tell them this phrase and also about, vocalizing your needs. It's about the needs. So that's so fundamental but so powerful at the same time that to me that's one beauty of it. And of course, there's a lot of tools about it, a lot of ways to bring that out. But that's so great, and that's what makes us human, because that's that's really the magic. I always say, you can't change people, you can't make people go that way, you can't change a relationship. But what never ceased to amaze me is that this is magic. This is a really powerful tool when you open yourself to people and when you share things, when you when you give this chance of being vulnerable, then you really have a an honest vision. I don't know how to put it another way of the other person, and really, really makes a big impact. It ripples, has a really big ripple effect, and
yeah.
and then it's like a fire you lit, and the other person will remember that, and maybe or maybe not will do the same. So that to me, that's a great way to change the world in small steps.
Yes, that's why I do what I do. This is why we teach, so others go and do it because it's quite powerful when you give these tools to clients. Now, in the workshops that we'll have in Paris, because I get a lot of questions from all over. What do you do when you get this type of client?
Yeah,
What do you do when you hit a wall? Uh, what do you do when you have this reaction? What do you do when, and in this 3 days in Paris, we're gonna go through a lot of those scenarios of of what do you do, and we're gonna bring some live clients too, because there's nothing better than seeing a live session from beginning to end, um, and with different clients, different type of clients. And I'm hoping to introduce also some new tools, in particularly with clients that are quite rigid or in a lot of pain. Tools even that are very effective for neurological issues and elderly. Uh, because just like we discussed, hopefully that client of yours can come to the workshop, but we have an aging population around the world, so many of you are seeing elderly clients, and many of them hold on to a belief that they can't change, it's too late, they're too old, and because of it, their life starting to get smaller and smaller. And it's not
Yeah.
just the elderly populations that feel that way. A lot of people experience different types of traumas where their life is changed and because and be started to become really limited because now there's also a lot of fear of maybe re-injury or being re-traumatized. And some
Yeah.
of these tools, change starts to change that belief system because, again, the whole concept is change can happen with ease. Change equals ease, or ease equals change, right? And that gives you power. Uh, that's what I often try to recreate in the treatment process with clients because oh my God, how many of us feel like it's so hard to change and change is so difficult in this situation? How do I change this? How can I change this? I can't change this. This is impossible to change.
Mhm.
And we become rigid. Our world becomes smaller. The suffering becomes greater, and that's what you see clinically. That's what you see all
Mhm.
around you. So bringing in tools to demonstrate again, just like we do in the first and second modules, that change can be powerful, but it also can happen with ease. And to recreate that through the body is incredible. And to see their eyes and their responses to it when that happens is priceless because it's like I had this fella that I've been working with, and maybe he'll be a case study that I'll talk about
Okay.
in the workshop. But I just want to mention he was a very proud man, a defense lawyer, a very famous defense lawyer in the city that retired. But for a long time, he also played tennis. And he used to be, he kind of proudly says, I was the number one 40-year-old in Vancouver, the number one 50-year-old in Vancouver, then the number one 60-year-old. But now he's over 60 and he's still playing tennis, God bless him. But he's become so rigid because his body's kind of been wearing out. So I did a session with him last week, and his eyes just about came out because he couldn't believe what he was seeing with his own eyes of how much change can happen to an aging body that believes that once you're over a certain age,
Yeah.
things cannot be changed, right?
Yeah.
And uh, and that's important that we give those experiences to our clients. And it's important
Mm.
for us as therapists because again, many of us tend to work so hard and shiatsu is laborious. It's a laborious job, and often you spend so much time. But when you work directly with the nervous system or in a very direct and clear and gentle way, and again, having them involved in it, when that's the key, the magic happens is when they work together with you.
Yeah.
I love that type of work because I'm not doing all the work. It's 50-50, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it saves our hands, it saves our bodies. And so I would love to demonstrate that. And in the future, that's a module on its own, working with elderly neurological problems, which are a huge issue in the globe right now. The numbers are just staggering. How many people having neurological disorders is just mind blowing. And nobody's really talking about it, just like nobody talked about trauma 20 years ago. And so, yeah, I can't wait to share that with all of you. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too. To have this, I guess it's all about to respond to what you just said. It's all about creating creating an environment for making that experience happen, you know, the
Yeah.
experience
And
of ease, of change, of safety, of a lot of things, a lot of different kind of experiences. But
yeah, and teaching our clients to collaborate with us, to build an
mm,
alliance with us, right? We're
mm,
building an alliance. That's the 6A, right?
yeah,
Is building an alliance. And in order for us to build an alliance, we have to have a collaborative process.
yeah.
You
Then
know,
we
and
have
this is again
doubled.
where this is
Yeah,
where
go on, go on.
shiatsu therapists, they're so comfortable, or body workers or manual therapists are just comfortable with just doing something to someone as opposed to doing things together,
Mm,
and consciously get them engaged and also step out of the box, out of the factory of shiatsu, out of the template, and step out of our comfort zones and offer ourselves to our clients in a more integrative way, in a way that, elicits again, elicits your client to work with you. And this is where we get a little uncomfortable, many therapists. But as you experience, Julian, the more you use the tools, and again, it's not about perfection because you learn with
yeah,
time all these nuances. The more comfortable you get with the tools, and the more, because of it, the more the clients get a lot out of them.
yeah, yeah. To me, how I phrase it is to help them experience their creative side of them, or the
Beautiful.
ability to have with creation, you know, because when you
Beautiful.
create, you're active instead
Yes.
of just suffering, or
Bingo. Bingo.
uh,
Well said.
being in a victim state, per se, or this posture of what's happening to me in this relationship, what's happening to me in this job. So that's the way I like to see it, and I tell them to them, and that's also linking with values, and create the life that you want for yourself. It's that simple,
Yes.
and that's the core of, I mean, to me, that's the core of trauma therapy, getting out of that freeze or fight or flight state, then into creation.
Yeah, yeah, that's the process. I mean, they create, that's why they become their own healer, right?
Yeah,
And as it's also respecting what they are able to do and what they cannot do. And that's a big one because there's no point of making someone get into their values when they're not there. They're not ready to see it.
mm,
They don't see the importance to it. So it's understanding a starting point with different types of clients and what they're
yeah,
comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. And also, like, how do we incorporate the shiatsu into it? Like, and that's again what we're gonna get into in the workshops. Okay, we do the tools in module 1, module 2. How do we incorporate the shiatsu into it, uh, and
yeah,
creatively? And I love
yeah,
doing that because that's what I do too. It's not that I don't do shiatsu. I do a lot of shiatsu, and I work a lot on specific things. Uh, but how do we creatively incorporate that with the tools, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
again, you can create a lot of effect incorporating neuro reset tools, NeuroPath reset tools, and shiatsu. incorporating some of the processes into with shiatsu. And that's what we'll work on in those 3 days, like how to be creative also as a therapist. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
That's important. That's about listening and being in that space with the client. So there's already a lot to digest, I think, for the people who are going to listen to that video.
Yes.
Uh, and I think so. Of course, we're talking about the 3 days in Paris and your upcoming workshops in Europe. But I mean, to those who are going to, because you're going to put that video on YouTube, right, on different platforms, maybe on your website, you'll see. Uh, if you're watching this video and you're interested in that, feel free to contact for upcoming workshops or in Europe, or feel free to contact Michael or me if you have any questions about that, because it's gonna happen again and again, and those tools are gonna be shared in different modules, different aspects, and the foundations, as you mentioned. It's a stair with different steps. So of
Yeah.
course you can come from this side or this side or this side, but in my experience, it's best to go from stair one to stair two, to go slowly but surely. Maybe you have
Yeah.
something to say about that.
The first one is a good one to start with because it starts with, again, one of the most effective tools you can have to start with any client. Again, building an architecture, safety, boundaries around their protective patterns, and to start helping them and enabling them to start to let that go. It's one of the most fundamental. That first module, I'm really proud because now I've shown it to different groups and different parts of the world. It's very, very effective, and I constantly get feedback from students about it. And so, yeah, starting with module one is good. Module two, it goes deeper into releasing chronic pain patterns, dealing with certain emotional pains and ancestral trauma, uh, and relationship trauma, the pain that is not ours. And it's a very powerful workshop. Um, Module number three is diving deeper into the values, into our fears, into our shadow, into our intuition, into the spiritual element and the shamanic elements. It's a very intensive module, and I usually like to do it in a retreat, but that might change in the future because we sleep together in the same place, we're together all the time. We're supporting each other because it's a deep dive, as Julien experienced it in the south of France, and the people that came to Colombia experienced some of it too. It's quite deep and can be life-changing, and more modules to come to complement the work and to dive deeper. So I can't wait to share it with you ongoingly soon in France again, which is becoming a like a second home, like I said, and more in Europe coming into 2027. And doing more things online and promoting things online to the public awareness and for therapists that are interested. The summer and fall will be also a time of experimentation for me because I'm working on some things to bring out into 2027 and beyond. So I can't wait to meet you wherever you're at and continue this work and be brave and courageous and to bring some trauma healing to the world. It needs it more than ever.
Well said. So yeah, I can't wait to see all those new adventures with you and with all the people we meet, and hopefully in Paris, in other parts of Europe.
Yes. Thank you, Julian.
Yeah, thank you, Michael.
Fantastic. Bye, everyone.